All right, guys, as Christina Aguilera always said, it's time to get dirty. Wait, did she say that?
She did now.
So stay tuned. Welcome back, Gainers, to another incredible, exciting, fantastic episode of ComicGains! If you're new to the show, I'm Adam.
I'm Zach, and this is Christmas Princess, Her Royal Highness, doing that princess wave. So you do it too. Bow down, respect. Of course, somewhere's Coco over here. Oh, there she is. Looking like a prairie dog. Mm-hmm. Anyways, bow down, respect, and yeah, all that good stuff.
All right, guys. So I want to say a special Merry Christmas to everybody because we're on Christmas Eve if you're watching this episode. Pretty exciting, but we have another fantastic how-to videos. We're getting a lot of good feedback from you guys. Really enjoying the how-to, and these are kind of fun, some interesting stuff. We're kind of come up with some cool ideas. So this week is how to dirty grade. And who better to do some dirty grading?
Than the dirtiest guy on the team.
Yeah. So, we got a pretty fun thing. And you know what you should do right before you get dirty? Right after you get dirty is get cleaned up.
With water, but...
Do some water.
I'll only drink water this episode because I wasn't prepared. And I'm really thirsty.
How is the water?
It tastes just like water. Just remember when I was a kid.
Water. So, yes, we got a fun little episode for you here, guys. And a big thing you can do when you're out in the wild is you run into like what we call dirty grading. And that's kind of like you have to make a quick assessment of a book to kind of decide where it falls in line. Like, is it near mint? Is it VF? Is it very fine? You know, all kinds of different things. And that kind of can make you decide like how much you should be paying for a book. You know, because a lot of times places you go, people price everything as though they're near mint. And you want to make sure you don't fall into that by accident by paying near mint prices for a book that is VG, what we call very good. And that can happen a lot, you know, make some mistakes. So Zach is kind of the one that taught me a lot about dirty grading. And that's, you know, so maybe he can teach you a little bit about dirty grading. We'll keep this episode kind of short because dirty grading needs to be quick, right, Zach?
Yeah, very quick.
Yeah.
Well, also go into the actual normal process, you know, done by the experts. And what's the difference between it real quick. So I'll just read off what it is. This is the proven method that professionals do it by. So first one, you do like a first impression. You take a general look at the book, you get a first impressions glance, and that kind of gives you a range of where the book is, kind of sets it in your mind. You identify the variant, if there is any variant, or if it's a pedigree. Next step, you check the page count. Next step after that is page quality. Step after that is restoration check. And the last step, you assess all the defects and determine the final grade. And you want to do that in natural light. So there's stuff with dirty grading versus professional grading. You have to subtract some of that because depending on where you are, you might not have all the necessities of grading it professionally, and you're trying to do it quicker. So the first rule of dirty grading, right? Let's say you have to have like 20, 30 books, right? You want to spend the most time on the most expensive book and the least time on the least expensive books. So the more the book's worth, more time you want to spend on it. I mean, if it's a $5 book and you spend 20 minutes on figuring out the grade, you just wasted a lot of time, did you not?
Like, how good is this Torah?
How good is this Torah? So spend as much time as you actually need on the book. So low price, not that much. High price, a lot. You don't want to miss a thing, right? Next step, general view. Just like the professional grade, you want to take a look at it, kind of have a grade in mind. And usually that's kind of like probably pretty close to what the ideal grade is, right? And then of course you want to check to see if it's a variant and everything, but you have to have that in your mind. And then the next step really is actually defining the grade, right? And this is a step that will come with experience because you kind of have to look at books that have been professionally graded before, have the picture of it in your mind, right? And, you know, like go from a 0.5 to 1.0, 1.5, 1.8, and so on and so forth. And you just have to have seen a lot of them. And then you kind of generalize it through where it could be. So you get the book, for example, this right here. I'll show you right here. This book is a very nice copy. Well, I think it looks pretty cool. It has natural marble chipping on there. It just kind of comes with the territory of this book. Take a look at general. We want to take it out of the bag. Take a general look at it, and you get a first impression of it. Right? Take a look at it, and there's a lot of edge creases. There's a lot of marble chipping. General grade, it's probably low grade. It's probably not mid, right? And then you have to take a look at, okay, the corners, the edges. There's a big piece right here taken off, so that would lower the grade quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So normally if that piece wasn't there, if you were to look at it, this probably be like a 4.0, but with that piece taken out of it right there, it probably lowers an additional 2 to 3 grades, so it'd be somewhere like a 2.5 to a 3.0, and everything else wouldn't be as bad as that. So I think this would be like a 3.0, and this is that's dirty grading right there, right? There's a couple other things you want to take a look at. There's a lot of things you can't really cover very well when you're doing dirty grading. You can check for amateur restoration. You can you're holding the book, you can kind of feel it with your hand. It feels like the texture's different or the color's quite different. If it's professional, it's much harder to see. So that's one thing. Another thing, you always want to, rub your hand. You try not to touch the book as much with your hands as possible, but if you know your hands are clean and you need to check it, of course it's dirty grading. You put your hand against the spine and you feel for any bumps. That will tell you if there's any glue adhered to the spine, so that could potentially be a form of restoration, or it probably will deduct from the grade of the book. So that's something else you want to take a look at. But generally, dirty grading is you take a look at, check the pages real quick, just quick check the corners. If it's a higher grade, you want to make sure the corners are sharp, because then that would tell you it's probably about a 9.4, as long as the spine's not too bad and there's no pieces taken. If the corners are not sharp, it's probably a 9.0 or below. Yeah. And that's kind of the range. And then of course you have to take the visuals that you have in your head of other grades that you've seen, other professionally graded books. I kind of compare it to that. It can't be 9.0 because of this, because that book doesn't have it. 8.5, can't be 8.5 because there's this on the back. 8.0, it's probably an 8.0. Then you can kind of say with certainty it's most likely an 8.0. There could be something else that you're missing, but that's any other grader out there. There might be one or two things you miss. It might be something that the professional grader miss. But you're going to be pretty dang close. This one is an awesome copy for a perfect example. This is a Ghostwriter number 2. This is a lovely copy as it sits, with one exception. I would say this would probably be 8.0, 8.5, but there's something in the top right corner of the book, as the principal will show you in a second, that subtracts from the book substantially.
Yeah, that could lower down to a 5 or even a 4 possibly. With
5 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, with that piece missing. So the person that you might have bought it from may have labeled it as a higher 8.0 very fine grade because the book looks nice, but then with that piece missing, you should know you shouldn't be paying that price for it. You should be getting a lower price. It's
either a 3, maybe 2, but most likely 3 to 4 grade bumps. So I would say that could be an 8.5 potentially if that didn't have that damage there. It probably drops it down to as high as a 6.5, probably lower, like you said.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because depending on the age of the book too, there's a lot of factors with it. But with something like that throws your curveball. So you have to judge that very harshly, if you were to purchase that book. But other than that, that's a very lovely copy.
Yeah.
All right. Am I missing anything?
No, just some good stuff. Yeah, definitely all good stuff to be looking at. Definitely, like Zach was saying, you have blunted corners, You want to make sure like it's got the sharp edges. The only thing I find that they're a little bit forgiving on is some spine ticks on some things, but they got to be small spine ticks and limited to like 1 or 2 tops. I find that anything that's like, any of the corners that are smushed or anything like that, they'll hit you hard. Like it'll drop like stains.
Stains. I was just
They'll kill you on stains. Like if the book looks really nice and has a stain, it's gonna be the grade's gonna go down significantly. So just be on the lookout. If you're looking at a book, like you get a little bit of room on spine ticks if they're small and there's like under 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It's the only thing you're gonna get like a saving grace on. Everything else, you just got to be careful on the grading on those ones.
But this is dirty grading. There's some things that you have to leave off the table unless it's more expensive book, and then you can't just dirty grade. If you've got a Hulk 181 in your hands,
don't dirty grade it.
Don't dirty grade it. Don't dirty grade it. There could be a million things that could subtract from the value of the book, and you might be paying full price, thinking it's an 8.0, and then you find out it's a 3.0 because they had a gigantic stain on the back, or there's foxing on the back or in the pages, or the page it might be missing a page or two because he didn't study that it had 16 pages, interior pages. I mean, there's a million things, so you have to do your research. If it's a really expensive book, you have to spend again more time on it, and that's dirty grading for you.
In a nutshell, that you can crack for Christmas. A lot of people eat nuts on Christmas for some reason.
A little nutty, huh?
All right, guys. So that's kind of dirty grading in a nutshell, like I just said. But definitely, if you guys have any comments or anything you like to look for, definitely leave the comment down below how you feel about dirty grading and certain things. It's all something it's an ever changing thing in the industry. And like I said, CGC and CBCS is changing their grades constantly and what they look at. They're even have even said that recently that they're always upgrading and changing how things go on. So we all have to be doing the same thing and kind of be checking on how harshly they grade things and whatnot. So keep up the good work. And as usual, if you like these kind of shows, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you always know when new things are going down. And don't forget that today we're having a special Christmas Eve sale on Whatnot. So come check it out with us. We got ComicGains going on first at 3 o'clock. Princess is going to be rounding it out. And after that, then Johnny 5 Live, if he can make it, will be on after that. And then after that, Santa will be coming to your house because it'll be Christmas night. Ooh. Anything else, Zach?
Oh, you got to share. And how you do that is you have to go out in the forest, with a couple traps. It might take you a few days, right? But you have to get a couple families of badgers, right, all together. And you make a badger farm, and then you start producing all these types of badgers and all this badger milk, badger butter, badger cheese. You guys never had badger cheese? Come on, where you living? That's how you get those badger gains.
Be careful, they bite.
They do.
That's how you get the cheese.
That's how you get the cheese.
All right, guys. Until we see you next time, everybody have a Merry Christmas, and
all those badger gains.
Get 'em.